Let's go. Welcome to the show, Discover Crypto. Blockchain Basement here for the 1 p.m. warning. Nvidia earnings are coming out today. All eyes are on Nvidia. Earnings coming out at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, but I'm going to give you some deep insight on Nvidia's performance and some good expectations of what's to come over the course of the next few hours and through the rest of the week. A lot of things for markets, continued upside, are really looking for a positive Nvidia performance on their earnings today. So we're going to be looking at that in good detail, get us a good bellwether for what to expect from markets. And remember, it's a crazy time in bull markets. Even when you're on the aggregate up, there are going to be times of washouts. But also, I'm going to give you some of my insights on when I'm going to be ready to sell my altcoins. All right, don't tell anyone, but you know what? There's going to be a time where I'm going to be jeeting my altcoins. Now we're going to be taking a look at when that comes up. Good morning, everyone. Beats sufficient enough. Crypto JJ, like crypto, see wild futurist, all the people up in here. Welcome to the show here today. And now, if before we get into everything, we got to check it up. I finally got the new spot together here, folks. I'm feeling great. This is TJ gave me some slack. He says, and I understand why he says that this picture is not level. I tell you what, I took the level to it. I was almost dead nuts on. It's just a panoramic view, but that's the new spot. Make sure you guys are following me at Druth Crypto here on the X. We are going live there. And also, streaming to the Solana ecosystem as well. I can't remember where my post is. This is kind of the lore of Genius Maximus. When it comes to selling altcoins, baby, I get in there. I sell those altcoins when it's time. So we're going to be looking at what metrics I'm going to be using. Can I be using them as my bellwethers on when to sell? And now what I'm selling into, I ain't going to tell you until we get to it, but it's going to leave people kind of shocked. Now, oh yeah, we got all kinds of people from crypto sleepers thinking it's positive. You know what? We're going to be looking at some of those metrics. We're going to see if we are going to be looking at some good upside today because people are biting their nails. And regardless of all the market swings, this is what we must remember. I will stay strong in this silly world. Now, let's get into it. Let's look at what all the buzz is about with Nvidia and Jensen today. Nvidia earnings. The stock trading flat currently. Modest post-report gains are seen. Investors will parse the report for clues to whether the AI data center spending boom will continue. Now, they will also want to know whether Nvidia will get a share of China's AI infrastructure market. Both, kind of hands of, one side of the body, left hand and right hand here. AI data center investments into the United States obviously have seen a massive uptick. Looks like they're looking to tap into that Chinese market as well. Both America and China are going to be working heavily monetarily and infrastructurally towards becoming those AI superpowers. Nvidia earnings report seen as a key to keeping the AI stock trade alive. Other AI stocks riding the artificial intelligence wave include AMD, Astera Labs, Broadcom, Credo, and Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, TSM. Now, there has been a lot of macroeconomic tug and pull over Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing. He who produces the chips controls the future of AI. We've seen that play out. Now there are manufacturing facilities here in the United States that are Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Organization, and they actually are only about 10% more expensive to produce wafers at. So they do look pretty competitive in terms of their cost of production. This is where the whole tug of war, balance of structure comes. OESE letter talking about the Nvidia report today, the earnings. Options market currently pricing in a 6.1% post-earnings implied move on Nvidia. This implies a swing of $270 billion of market cap after the close today. This is more of a market cap of 95% of 95% of the S&P 500 companies. Just think about that. In this, the entire Wall Street, it feels like, is on the backs of Nvidia. With the size of market cap it has, Nvidia to stocks is like what Bitcoin is to crypto. It's almost more than the market cap of about 41 public companies in the world. Buckle up. But to be fair, and to really kind of compare the two is a little lopsided because Bitcoin, it makes up $2.2 trillion in market cap, but below Bitcoin, I mean the power struggle is real, right? The market caps get much smaller very quickly in crypto. Nvidia is at 4 trillion, but then a lot of its competitors are at the 2-3 trillion dollar market cap. Crypto much more kind of consolidated on that structure. So these are the Nvidia option traders expecting that 6.1% swing. And now, when we really look at this, like Nvidia is definitely the king when it comes to these AI GPUs, I'd say. They have like about an 80% market share. So they've crushed earnings reports, say 11 out of the 12 last reports, right? This is all FOMO, fever pitch investments coming into AI and AI infrastructure, trillions of dollars, honestly, being set up to actually flow into the United States and expansion from the United States to actually kind of build this AI superpower, right? This AI superpower is kind of what I see being built out by the Trump administration and even administrations moving forward here. So when I look at this, trading AI projects, AI crypto projects is probably going to be an absolute S show today. I would not, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be probably leaving that alone. But I actually think that the earnings report, from what I've seen, I feel like this earning report's going to actually go pretty well. I feel like the earnings report's going to go actually pretty darn well. And, we may as well hop on over to the Bitcoin charts to see what's going on. We have some concerns on Bitcoin, a little bit of outflow on Bitcoin ETFs as a 6-day outflow continues, longest seen since early April. So we are seeing a little bit of a downturn in ETF movements for Bitcoin, particularly. Now, Bitcoin, let's go over to the graph and check out what we're looking at here. This is the MACD currently. And where I like to start is on the 4-hour MACD. I like to start on that 4-hour MACD here. We are trying to make a swoop up from the bottom, potentially a W pattern formation on the MACD moving averages internally. And we are moving to the upside currently, right? But this could be a point where we run into a lot of resistance. This was our support. Right where we're at right now is where we were hoping would be support a couple times, and it did play out to be support here in August 2nd, on that big pullback. But we've fallen below that over the last few days, and now we've bonked our heads against this. Sure, a couple wicks above the support level, but we are smack dab on that support right now. So we got to go check out the money flow. The larger money flow on the weekly time frame is really what I want to be paying attention to here. Let's check this out and just see what we're expecting, because we've seen so far that expected tap to these previous range highs. All right, that was kind of a gimme. It was kind of a layup in terms of TA. But now let's go to pull up some market side B. And this is on the weekly time frame. Really want to get a feel for the money flow wave here. Definitely does look like we're at least having that momentary blip. To the downside on Bitcoin money flow. Really, that VWAP is deep enough where I could see this VWAP reversing very aggressively, very quickly. The VWAP down to those levels where I see it reverse all the time, in the low teens, right at about 11 right now. So that is very interesting and something worth noting here on Bitcoin. Really, the concern about Bitcoin ETFs, it's all not bad. Spot Ethereum ETFs are logging $455 million in daily inflows, surpassing Bitcoin ETFs for the second time this week. So we actually see a little bit of a shift from Bitcoin dominating the scene, dominating the ETF interest realm. Now it's starting to shift over to Ethereum. So let's just actually read a little bit more. SOS value data. Funds from BlackRock and Fidelity spearheaded yesterday's inflows. We see BlackRock and Fidelity, of course, continually leading up these ETFs in aggregate. ETH, the BlackRock product, recorded net inflows of about $323 million, while the FEF, was this Mike Tyson's ETF fund, had $85 million in inflows. Grayscale's ETH and Mini Ethereum Trust also saw positive flows, worth noting there. So cumulative ETH treasury holdings as well, spiking up to the upside. Absolutely vicious. Absolutely vicious. And now, when it comes to crypto treasuries, I am hopeful that the industry kind of stops at the top two. I'm kind of hopeful that we just keep the treasuries here. Something I'm watching out for is a major pullback in a lot of these altcoins after the hype really hits those fever pitch levels. Jeeting altcoins for what? Dare you ask? Well, I'm selling it for Bitcoin. Okay. And if I feel like more properties, fine. Bitcoin is what I'm taking my profits into. And I want to know what you're going to take your profits into. And I know if you've been listening to this channel long enough, we've given some insane entry points that I've taken personally. So, in aggregate, this personal crypto experience of mine that's now publicly broadcast for you has had some insane entry points, and where I take profits into really is going to matter. It's really going to matter. Now, I'm personally more interested in just more Bitcoin. I think in terms of how am I going to get more percentage of Bitcoin per week. That's always what the focus is, even in trading, right? Even in trading, that is the focus. Holding on by a thread. Well, I know that Renee. Oh, it's gonna go. Eventually, Renee's gonna be correct. Shout out to you in the chat. Eventually, there will come a time where the markets roll back. They take a breather, and what we've seen so far, Bitcoin breaking all-time highs before we've ever seen before in its history. Money starting to flow into Ethereum. Shortly after, when Ethereum starts to steady out and cool down, we're going to see these layer ones really start to rip. Then on down the chain, down the degeneracy line, it will go. We see this time and time again. The time frames are slightly skewed, yes, because we've hit all-time highs quicker than we've ever done. We ranged at those all-time highs for longer than we've ever seen, and there are some metrics that are slightly different in this current scenario. But as it sits right now, just a stair step up and to the right, expected pulled up. You want to check out that VWAP once again. Let's get in on that VWAP. Let's look at that VWAP. Look at that VWAP right there. Very sharp downturn on the VWAP. Okay. And, you need this volatility to create really heavy interest zones of buying and, pressure to the upside. Today is going to be a little bit nuts though in terms of trading. So stop losses are a friend. You don't want to blow up your account as we're sitting here just building this staircase to the sky. And, vast majority of my profits go into Bitcoin. I have no problem just closing my eyes and top blasting Bitcoin. What I will do with the altcoins, it's really dependent on each different one. As we get into the altcoin section, I'll kind of go through and, maybe take some requests from you. If you're sitting on a bag, I personally, I'm going to be I feel like looking at the AVAX at the chain link to Bitcoin pairs, because I'm using the pairing charts to Bitcoin above and beyond everything out there. All the different signals and indicators can help you, but I know that I'm not doing myself wrong if I'm in a season of winning against Bitcoin. I'm winning flat out, and that is hard to do. Beating Bitcoin's upside is hard to do, so that's what I'm looking for. Shout out to Veteran Crypto as well, running the DeFi crypto and airdrops, man. DeFi and yield are going to be our friends when that downturn does come and the cooling off period does begin to. Having mechanisms to get involved in DeFi to constantly earn yield, going to be very, very important. Going to be very, very important. So we're going to, always going to be shilling DeFi crypto and airdrops because we have to prepare for when that time does come for altcoins. The season is actually pretty good. Like people that are out there complaining or have something to complain about, in altcoins. Literally, you just suck at trading crypto, is what the problem is. If you're down right now, there has been so much upside out there. You have to just remain based. So like on the entry points matter on these altcoins so much. Shout out to L Hamel. Welcome to the Alliance. Shout out. Jugs, we'll check out Ondo too, man. Ondo is one that I'm sitting on that I'm like, when are you going to start moving with the rest of the market? I'm giving it that side eye. But as I just said, this is ETH's moment right now. ETH is knocking on the door of those all-time highs. It's putting in really, really good movement against Bitcoin. We have not seen that fever pitch, that levee break moment for altcoins by any degree right now. So, these pairing charts are going to be our friend because they're going to be my friend, right? Because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just talking publicly about what I'm going to do. But they're going to be my friend because it's going to get weird. You're going to have maximalist and up-only theories coming out of the woodwork, and you just got to stay based. You got to take profits, be able to keep playing here now. So this is an interesting side note from AIXBT. Just within altcoins, tracking FTX funds through bridges. Watched Wintermute move 6,000 Ethereum. Saw blacklisted wallets contaminating Stargate pools daily. And A believes in infrastructure cannot ignore Layer Zero processing $82 million in stolen funds anymore. That moment you realize $2.8 billion in TVL shares the pools with crime. Stargate contamination makes every liquidity provider technically exposed to OFAC. So, for everyone that's out there in DeFi, I thought this is just a very, very interesting take, a very interesting data observation from AIXBT. Take it as you may. Is it ultra FUD right now? I mean, it'll probably go onto deaf ears in the current market that we're in. Because the question is, how long is this government conversation about blockchain going to actually push the market forward up and to the right? We've never had the kind of things happening in our media or our government related to crypto ever in our entire history. And this note from the government this morning just paints how serious that picture actually is. The US government to begin publishing economic data on blockchain, right? Now, this brings up a couple frames of thought, a couple questions to me. Can blockchain make government data more trustworthy? Are they going to choose private sector blockchain organizations to handle this data? If so, there would be disgusting upside for the projects that are chosen to do so. Many questions can come to mind when I'm looking at this. U.S. government going to begin publishing economic data on the blockchain. And I want to can blockchain make governments more trustworthy? Flat out. Like, that is the design and the development of Bitcoin to be outside of government control because of the overextension of this fraud fiat-based system now being hybridized, married to that exact system is created to defeat. There's a lot of things to come into question. Now, can blockchain save the government, or wouldn't the government just make their own blockchain, right? We already see the bubblings beginning with Google and many other massive organizations to develop their own blockchains, their own insular blockchains. Why wouldn't they just fudge the data and fake everything on those proprietary systems, right? I think that they absolutely would. And the government's probably going to choose a company that's already a winner. Right? The company that gets chosen for this in aggregate rollout of crypto for institutional adoption and all those things is likely going to come from an already proven winner within the S&P 500, probably one of the Mag 7, right? So we got to watch out for that because we know JP Morgan, they developed Onyx. The private sector, I think, is going to rise because the implementation is actually happening. So I think private sector layer ones are going to just rise off that speculation. There are a few that might actually deliver, though, and that's what we got to be looking at here. Nvidia earnings. Ooh, we got Jason Casper coming in. What do we got here? Nvidia earnings going to disappoint. Flew a Wall Street executive today, and he said that they already have a massive short position. Ooh, interesting, massive. Okay, Jason Casper's chicken clucking on in here, giving the some maybe potential info there. Whew. I don't know. I still think they're going to beat it just because of how many times they have all the FUD against them. This does feel very similar to pretty much most, if not all, Nvidia earnings reports. So I'm actually still leaning bullish. But you know what? There's Jason Casper Chicken clucking in some information. We'll see if it plays out that way. Now, when I think about also U.S. government beginning to push economic data and blockchain, I want to think about the companies that have already been involved with the government, right? If there's any private companies out there that are going to be involved in this aggregate rollout, in my opinion, it's going to be companies that already have a foothold in working with the government on doing so. And this brings up, you know what? It brings up Chainlink. It brings up Chainlink in my mind. The work that they've done in Washington, D.C. on the proof of reserves bill, all of the, and also thinking about this, Sergey was the only crypto executive with the balls to talk at that White House roundtable meeting. Sergey was the only one that had a slotted time to be able to speak in front of the president of the United States about the future of blockchain infrastructure, speaking as an American-based crypto company, an Oracle network, right? And then, we also have the work that they've been doing in the background, him, Chris Barrett, in Washington, D.C., on the proof of bill with many mentions of oracles. I actually think that there are, Chainlink comes to my mind, and then also Constellation DAG. I have a bag of Constellation DAG for this very reason that I had built quite some time ago. And it might have been that I was just looking at a narrative or something to occur well ahead of its time. Now, this is Constellation DAG. They've been working with, the Air Force and Navy. It's a lot of focus on communication security. It's its own type of, blockchain system, hypergraphs, and it is very small market cap. I have this bag that I've speculated on for quite some time. I think I got it around $50 million market cap or something like that, because it was a 2 cent entry point, right? We're buying very, very low, because there's a reason why I said what I said. If you've been following me for a long time, my back up the truck moments, and God, I mean, even in a down, boring time frame, we're still near 2x, right? Our positions built way back when. So if we do see, an aggregate rollout, that conversation of governments actually using blockchain, ridiculous upside potential. Ridiculous upside potential. That's why I'm holding it. I believe in things like that. And I'm going to make it happen. Oh my God, Papa Goose. Okay, Papa Goose. You had to go. You had to go a little bit too far, Papa Goose. Let's see.
You are banned.
There we go. There we go. Okay. A little bit of calm in my life, right? Eventually I'm going to accidentally gigaban someone, and that'll be an interesting day. Now, Securitize coming out backing Ethereum to lead a $200 billion RWA market development initiative. This website's kind of glitching out here. What the hell's going on here? Guest thread posted by Ethereum X account. Let's just go to the X account because this thing is wigging out here. Let's see here. So Ethereum posting this in congruence with Securitize. Now, why this matters? We know Ethereum was moving into the RWA sector. We know all these things. Why it matters is Securitize, very close working relationship in the past with BlackRock, and they even have it backed directly by BlackRock and Morgan Stanley. This is a company worth keeping a very, very close eye on. This company is, in my opinion, one of the chosen organizations at the seat of implementing crypto into the literal economic engine of the United States. Paul Atkins has made it very, very clear that that is his exact intention. Paul Atkins is the current SEC chair, but he previously served on the board of Securitize during the rollout of BUIDL, which is the tokenized treasuries market that Ondo is famous for its involvement with. So This organization, I think, is worth paying attention to. The kind of aligning between Ethereum and Securitize is something very, very, very notable. And Ethereum, with this kind of build out happening from the people who matter, who the people that have a seat at the table of decision makers, not just the hope and dreamers, but the people that are actually making the decisions happen. I think that Ondo has a good position at the table. It's just about, is that going to be a big, sexy, speculative narrative that we see run, right? Is that an absolute pump to the moon, right? Let's see. Where's our, oh no, Jose Cassius. I gotta read this. Where's our special soldier? New studio, not enough room for AA. No, you know what? I called him. He's a little sick right now. He's a little sick. So if he's not sick, let him know in the chat, because that's what he let me know of. Yeah, he's gonna be in here in a minute. I think he was just feeling a little bit under the weather. Honestly, his studio is right on the other side here, and he took a glowing sign that's ridiculous, but I kind of have FOMO for it. So I don't know how crazy I want to make this room. Yeah. So yeah, I gave him a little bit of guff. So now let's go to this. So Tom Lee, everyone's like asking who the hell Tom Lee is. He's been around crypto for a very, very long time. He's looking at Ethereum going to $5,500 in the short term. Overall, looking for that $10,000 to $12,000 Ethereum by the end of the year. Whew, I mean, if we're hitting, $10,000, it's $1 trillion market cap on Ethereum. I mean, being very, very bullish, obviously. We may as well listen to what he's got to say here. This is a target, hitting a $10,000 Ethereum is $1 trillion market cap. Would I be, all right, because I don't even hold any Ethereum other than gas. I hold base DeFi plays, but their timing going to be a little bit skewed to Ethereum, but a lot of it really does rely on Ethereum's expansion and growth, and flat out. So I want to listen to what Tom Lee has to say here. It matters for me. I know I don't hold Ethereum. Let's use this view. Let's go.
Okay, last question for you, Tom. I can hear your Slack's going off. You got to get out of here. Really appreciate the time that you spent on the channel. It means a lot. Price targets for end of year for Ethereum and the S&P 500, and your logic for those two.
Yeah, I think Ethereum, in the near term, 5,500 should be happening in the next couple of weeks. But by the end of the year, I think it should be closer to 10 to 12,000 for ETH. But it's because, most of the move in crypto does come in the fourth quarter. So if you're up 35% year to date, well, if you're going to be up 200%, it's going to all happen in the next few months. And for the S&P, if the Fed follows through and begins to cut, which is our expectation, and then we get a drop in mortgage rates and the ISM turning up, and therefore financials really begin to participate, I think that's why we get to 6,800 or so on the S&P. So still a lot of upside. Of course, as you know, September is the month everyone's going to be worried about. So that's a month where you might get a pullback, but you need to be buying that too.
So the seasonal weakness in September, you would say, would just be another opportunity.
Yes, that's right. And as you know, every pullback, everyone has been ringing the bell saying it's the top. That has always been a dip buying opportunity since 2022. So I just say keep that in mind, that you really
interesting targets. There is something to say. What he said there, that something that stuck out to me is he's emphasizing the short amount of time that it takes for that real peak to altcoins to actually come and play itself out. The hyper FOMO moment, right? The moments where things are just going absolutely ballistic. It's a very, very short time window. It's very hard to hit that timing exactly. But again, this is why I'm going to be using those pairing charts to really understand the velocity of gains versus Bitcoin, and then be able to make that choice for myself on when I'm actually selling them. Now, things are still moving in terms of, adoption. This is actually kind of playing into the overall adoption aspect of things. But MasterCard and Circle are expanding their their partnership to enable USDC and EURC settlements across the EEMA. This is kind of like the European, I believe, banking and payments infrastructure. But Circle, in terms of a company, the chart gave me some potential openings. I think it was about last week. Let's go back here and see how Circle has ended up playing out here. So it's still writhing around. It's looking like it's building up support, kind of like a floor for itself in this 124 spot. Seems to be trying to stop the pain. Circle has been pulling back very, very aggressively. It came out like a wrecking ball, Miley Cyrus and everything, with the tassels and the concrete ball going straight through a wall. And then it's been on a big, big correction path ever since then. I do feel like this is worth monitoring. This is something that, I kind of treat in relevance to an altcoin. But Circle as a company, I can tell, is continuing to get those regulatory rails kind of embedded into the system of money as we know it. So seeing things like this is just further verification that Circle, even Tether, I'd say, is here to stay. It's about how many of the current, payment outlets decide to work with them, right? And that's really what it's up, to. Let's see here. I want to go to Mamo, maybe looking good. Yeah, Tyler Jardell. Surprised to hear. This is a surprising thing to do. It's a surprising thing. Like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, me and BJ kind of started this conspiracy theory that Coinbase was going to capture Ethereum to a large degree. So that thesis playing out in my mind. I went into the Base ecosystem, onto DeFi plays on Base, right? In my opinion, Coinbase, for all intents and purposes, has captured Ethereum to utilize it at very, very low gas fees very quickly, and do some kind of chaotic things on the blockchain. I think that the Coinbase organization is working towards an everything app. And I believe that, with that, smart contracts that Ethereum provides rolled into Base gave me some good upside there. But yeah, Ethereum, I'm kind of expanded into more aggressive plays like Morpho, Aerodrome, things of that nature, right? So just a different approach to what I consider still generally Ethereum and Ethereum ecosystem plays here. Now, an interesting note and kind of some lore here, Monero. Monero at $281 from this post from Maverick. I do actually want to go check out the Monero chart. It was under heavy attack from its block pools being kind of dominated here, and seems to have found that bounce point. Seems to have bounced perfectly off that previous range. So let's actually look at this on a larger time frame here. Let's see. Yeah, like pretty much textbook right there. Pretty textbook. 232. Very aggressive bounce, and now it's up on it's on the up for the last 2 weeks. They tried to kill Monero. Monero found support. And honestly, almost a little enticed to get this. Not even just for the monetary, potential upside for it, but also because I want to support and continue to see the expansion of privacy within crypto. I think privacy is a God-given right, and I think that we deserve that here in crypto. I think that we deserve the right to privacy. Call me crazy, but that's just my personal opinion. Now, what do we got to move into next? Polymarket. Getting hooked up with Donald Trump Jr., right? World Liberty Fi potentially could be seeing some sort of integration. This would be interesting to see how this plays out. Trump family members joining in on a betting site that really has changed the game when it comes to even during voting season. Even during voting season, Polymarket is making the public polls have to kind of think on their feet, right? Have to think about the best way to spin things because you can't necessarily fake the data of Polymarket. This is people putting their money where their mouth is and their money where their opinion is, and actually creating a market out of it. So Trump Jr. joining that. Be interesting to see if World Liberty Fire expands into that as well. Now we have Pengu, the freaking penguin that just keeps going. It's so insane. Pengu at your convenience now, entering the Japanese market, notoriously challenging for foreign brands. It's often requiring years of negotiation, cultural adaptation, and strict compliance with local regulators on imports, distribution, and customer protection. But here we are, pudgy penguins in Japan. I think a lot of Asia is going to go ballistic for Pengu. I do think so. I think the branding is perfect. They have I don't know if you know this, like where's this? I don't have it, but they're Luca Nets behind Pudgy Penguins. He actually has revenue models. He creates businesses that are successful businesses. You might have even seen some of his products that you didn't even know. He sells these what do you call them? Gel blasters. They're all over the place. My son loves them. He has many of them. There's actual revenue models that the founder has proven to be able to pull off on crazy things. Yeah, the gel blaster. So seeing Pengu, now I wake up, and, one morning I'm waking up and the penguin is ringing the bell at the Wall Street New York Open. Then now I wake up and it's all over Asia. Honestly, it's probably coded to do very, very well. And I do like to see even the test bed. I have one of these things here. Hold on. Look at these. So they actually have a game that's connected to these products, right? And this is the Boogaloo version of the Pengu. I love this. And shout out, I think it was Nicole sent me this. And they come with little, what do you call them? Igloos. They have little penguins inside of them. They have products. They have a revenue model. They have a game. I'm all in. What do I say? I like seeing. I don't own any. I've been in and out of Pengu. But honestly, I've been watching it for a very, very long time, and it's doing well. It's doing well. So what can I say? What can I say? I'm all in. I'm all in. I love it. You know what? The Hawaiian shirt did it for me. I mean, the boog is real. Right. The Pengu knows. Yeah. Pengu is all over X. And you just got to give credit where credit is due. It's very, very novel. It's very new to see NFT with actual product behind it get access to, say, Walmart, and that's what Pengu has done. They have a game, they have a place for the user to really go on an experience and really go all in, create that cult-like culture, and that's essentially what you need if you're trying to launch a meme coin and an NFT and find any degree of success. Not an easy thing to do out there. It's been very interesting streaming to Solana SocialFi platforms as well. On the Pump Fund ecosystem, it's all about just making that bag immediately. People are kind of shocked that I'm just coming back and just doing the show. It's all just pump and dump stuff. But that I'm testing it out and seeing how it goes. If Pump Fund wants to turn it into the good show that consistently comes back and has good information, then have at it. Or if it's all about getting that bag, I understand that too. It's kind of in the culture there. Now we got to go into the rest of the news here. So Trump announces the American people may actually receive a dividend from tariff revenue. What we're talking here is the potential funny money airdrop incoming for Americans off of the revenue gained from tariffs. This total flu season vibe. Can't imagine to be $1,200 a person. But it is an interesting approach, an interesting question to ask, because at one point in the United States here, we actually just had external revenue service, essentially tariffs, right? Payments of goods to the American government or the American colonies that were, tariffs on incoming goods. Now we have tariffs and internal taxes. We're kind of they're double dipping on us. The government's double dipping on us. There ain't no other easy way to say it. Do we deserve a kickback from that, right? Or should they use that money to go try and solve the national debt crisis? Those are things that people will argue about, until the cows come home. What I intend, I actually expect to see, he might actually pull it off. This would be ridiculous to see for for altcoins if we do see funny money airdrops from tariff revenue come into the hands of altcoin speculators and the greater, I think a lot of this actually, a lot of boomers or people that don't know about crypto, they would like to get some Bitcoin with that funny money. I could see that absolutely happening. That was my experience in COVID. And honestly, leaning into that danger, leaning into all the haters and the uncertainty and the people freaking out about the economy falling apart, I just went all in on crypto. It changed my life forever, right? I've learned to lean into the danger, to kind of do the opposite of what mainstream media is telling us to do. It seems to just weirdly work out. It's almost like they don't want a regular person to succeed or something like that. The EU has now proposed removing all of its tariffs on the US industrial goods to now meet President Trump's demands. So we see a little bit of caving from the EU. This is actually, in my opinion, highlighting something that's not being reported here. Is probably what's going on is Trump is making some concessions to NATO about what they want to see happen between Russia, right? So on the reciprocal side of that, they'll remove tariffs. They'll have much better relationships as long as they can keep this never-ending war machine running and the uncertainty on the markets, the foreboding possibility of all things go boom over traders' heads as they cook the books to the moon. That's just my thoughts on where that's actually going. And some side thoughts here. You got to look at this. So this is in terms of the dividend, the tariff revenue might get some groceries, right? People are talking about it being about $600 payments. That is literally one shopping expedition for my family, sadly. That is the current world that we're living in. That's why I have to act so aggressively. And this is why I have to be so tuned in to not only crypto, but the macroeconomic markets to really get a bellwether of what's going on here. What the hell is happening? For what the Nvidia earnings call means for me is if we get a huge unwinding and a complete surprise and Nvidia earnings miss big time, you know what? I'm treating it as a buying opportunity. When I see the top for alts is when we're actually gaining in aggregate against Bitcoin. Now, yes, Bitcoin dominance has been going down. Now we got to talk about when to jeet. We got to talk about when to jeet, when to sell it all and get the hell out of the way. Now, Bitcoin dominance, it is falling, right? We've had a good pullback on Bitcoin dominance. Right now, it's at a level it's going to try to defend. There is no other way to put it. Bitcoin is at a level historically has seen some defense, and I would not be surprised to see some of that action, very notably here in September of 2020. What a buying opportunity. Shout out to that. But now we're at a stumble point. Bitcoin dominance, breaking down to historic trend lines that a lot of traders are going to be watching. This lower band here is not something that I'm going to be looking out for on when to sell my altcoins. It's actually going to be pertaining to the specific altcoin and or ecosystem. Let's say we go check out Solana versus Bitcoin, right? Is it time to jeet Solana? You've had a really, really great expansion over the past few days. You're feeling good. You're feeling like a winner. And now the Solana bag is feeling a little bit heavy. Well, this is Solana to Bitcoin on the weekly time frames. Now, and this plays into any Solana auxiliary coins that I hold, anything within the ecosystem, because Getimus Maximus, when he comes out, he jeets all of it. This is the weekly time frame. Now, what I want to highlight here is that you have insane internal signals that holy shit, stupid, it's time to sell this altcoin for some Bitcoin that happened on the run up to about the $200 zone, right? This was the escape from very low levels. Solana hit $8-10, something like that, and then went on an absolute tear. And now if you just had the Solana to Bitcoin chart, even if you just had this and operated off of this highlight where you had an expansion of essentially 220% against Bitcoin, any movement of 200+% against Bitcoin, I am jeeting for Bitcoin, regardless of how long they just got integrated by the state of California or, whatever's happening. If Solana runs 200% from where it's at against Bitcoin, that's something ridiculous. Really, what I could see happening for Solana is recapturing essentially the top band. I do actually think that it can accomplish near the top band of this previous channel, but keeping based. The reason why this line is down and to the right is because Bitcoin is a black hole of interest that will, in my opinion, eventually swallow 99% of all cryptos out there, if not more. There's going to be very, very few big winners in altcoins, but they will have speculative seasons of runs. Avalanche, obviously, with this recent performance, putting up some good numbers, but it's only up by 28% against Bitcoin over the last few weeks. Things like Avalanche have not even begun to move that needle, right? Avalanche to Bitcoin is like a fart went off in the middle of the desert. No one's there to hear it. Did it even happen, Bill? Doubt it. This is nothing. We are not seeing any sort of action on this yet, but when I do see them, I G'd them. And I actually absolutely did pull a trigger on this movement on Avalanche as well. This is part of the big sell early 2024. And a lot of people thought I was an idiot. They, told me, what are you doing? You're leaving so much on the table. Avalanche at the time of that Jeet was $52 a piece. It's sitting at $25 a piece. Complete price reset, half off. I did fill up the bags a little bit on Avalanche. I got some more at around $15. But in general, guys, like I'm not Jeeting the AVAX until I see a nice performance. I could very well see a 200% performance against Bitcoin on AVAX. When it happens, I'm selling the whole damn bag into Bitcoin without any sort of problem. So that is actually what I see. And, it's bouncing off pretty important levels. Where we're at right now, there's a lot of speculation if it's the top is in, are we cooked? Is that all we could expect out of the Bitcoin bull market / altcoin season? Right now, guys, I've never had more reasons to be bullish. It's pretty overwhelming the amount of bullish news that we get. Markets, they're not too reactive to news, right? They're very reactive to bad news, I would say, but they're not very reactive to good news. Yesterday's mess with Trump's war with the Federal Reserve, it's not getting better. It's getting worse. Trump just signed an executive order which fired federal Governor Cook due to criminal referral. Never in the 111-year history of the Federal Reserve has a president fired a Fed governor. But now Cook's refusing to leave, leaving the Fed in a very, very difficult position from Jim Bianco here if they allow her to continue with her duties. Starting this morning, and the courts find the president does have authority to fire her, even if it's months later during an appeal. Anything she does on behalf of the Federal Reserve as a governor starting today will not be valid. Wait a minute, what? What? And the Fed could be held responsible for allowing a non-employee to continue act as an employee. And we're talking about acting or being an employee overseeing the largest economy on the planet, making decisions about monetary policy for the largest economy on the planet. Restated, if the Fed allows her to stay and continue to be governor, the court rules that Trump can fire her. Even if it's later in an appeal, then Jerome Powell has potentially committed a for-cause offense for which he could be fired, allowing non-Federal Reserve employees to make decisions and policy on behalf of the Federal Reserve. Some inside baseball, some 6D chess potential moves that might actually be playing out right now. Maybe this is the play. Trump potentially knows that she's going to put up a fight, that they have a political discourse. They have a political bias against Trump within the Federal Reserve. We've seen reports after report about this, and that's pretty much a consensus. Now, in the Fed, I mean, if we see the removal of Jerome Powell for a for-cause reason, the replacement of him, I think that'd be pretty shaky for the markets at large. But bring on the chaos. Let's light this candle, right? It's been 111 years of control and manipulation of American markets by a private organization labeled Federal that claims it has reserves when it has none, right? It's Federal Reserve, yet it has no reserves, and it's not federal. It's absolutely insane. And some shifting on their policies as well is something worth noting in this. Waller, governor at the Fed, let's see here. He's a 3-1 favorite for the federal chair. As such, everyone should read his speech and what comes next. So this is a likely choice for the incoming Federal Reserve chair. And this new Federal Reserve chair is going to be chosen regardless of this. There's a political / media melee going on right now between Trump and Jerome Powell for sure. Makes for good views. It makes for great speculation. But we do have to understand that there's going to be a replacement for Jerome Powell either way, right? In normal terms in 2026. So here's a likely candidate for that in some of his words. So the duration of he's talking about demystifying the Federal Reserve balance sheet, right? The bigger problem with our balance sheet is that the maturity structure of these assets to support an ample reserve system is not well matched. So this duration of our asset portfolio is far too long for the liabilities, and we need a hold for an ample reserve system. If the Fed moved forward with a maturity matching strategy, as he's suggesting, it would hold about half of its treasury securities in shorter dated bills. In the years ahead, moving our portfolio towards shorter duration securities will slow the process of balance sheet unwinding. And you just got to imagine it like this. You got to imagine the Fed's like a giant, let's say it's like a piggy bank, right? Of America's money. And it's got a super long-term treasury, 30-year like bonds during tough times. A smart guy comes out and he says, let's swap some of this for short-term options like quick bills so it's easier to handle when really risky environments start to pop up. Potentially preparing for a mass unwinding of what I've been warning about. I'm not going to bore you to death, but I think that stagflation's here. It's just a matter of time till they admit it, and then crazy times can take hold after that. But shout out to Canada here. So there's a number 800-565-2224. It's being used to give the Canadian government a call and rat on people for hiking in Canada. James O'Keefe put this out here. It would be a shame if people indeed did call that. I mean, it would be a huge shame. What the hell's going on in Canada? Some of the cultural things going on right now are so insane. It really makes you wonder here. So shout out to James O'Keefe for highlighting the idiocracy. Sometimes you just have to do it. Crypto matters, but also culture matters, and people should be allowed to hike. So would be a shame if anyone, reached out to him. That'd be terrible. Now, Trump just posted this absolute legend. This is on his Truth Social. America is back. He puts himself leaning on a barrel of oil with America first. America is back. Here's Nicole. Of course, Nicole's one of the top respondents for that. But now Cracker Barrel's rolled back the idea of changing out their logo. The stock, sir, now CBRL is coming back. Wonder how much damage this wokeness has done. CBRL, we may as well go take a look at you. We may as well hop on over to the NASDAQ because I know that there's a lot of lost ground here. $61 a share, falling from the recent highs of $177 a share. Ooh, that's gotta hurt. These are weekly candles as well, so this is quite some time. Large investment history laid out here. Go woke and go broke, basically. You know what I mean? Even the knowing that the move was on their mind, now it's turned into, kind of a trolling meme. Yeah, sure, you're getting some relief pump here or whatever, but I'm not going to go to Cracker Barrel after that. I as a market participant can vote with my dollar. And actually, that's why crypto is so dangerous, is because it's a vote with my dollar. Let's say I have no interest in the fiat reserve currency system anymore. And let's say that I'm clicking the link in our description. I'm buying an Arculus cold storage wallet and I'm becoming my own bank. Code DC20 for 20% off. That is capital flight, folks. And there is nothing more powerful. Yes, you have your freedom of speech. And yes, you have the Second Amendment here in America, but nothing commands more respect than the power and the speech of our dollar. And where we put our money, that old saying, Put your money where your mouth is. It matters quite a bit. My money's in Bitcoin. My money's in crypto. And crypto, this is why communities in crypto matter so much, is because it's created, Bitcoin is created by the people for the people, right? It's an open transaction system outside of the control of governments. Yes, governments are trying to get their talons into control. Yes, we're seeing attacks on privacy networks like Monero, but it is still worth fighting for. Every American, every person on the planet, honestly, you have the right to privacy. It is a God-given right to privacy. And we must continue to support communities and organizations that are working towards that goal to really see it cross the finish line. So it's a not an easy battle. We are far from winning this thing. But God, there is not a world that I want to imagine where I'm 70, 80 years old and my son's, asking me, what did I do to try to protect, our basic human rights of freedom of speech, freedom of monetary expression, freedom to defend ourselves. And if I'm not able to tell him that I did everything I possibly could do, then that is a disappointment. So that is why I crypto. That is why I do this every single day, you guys. And there's many, many aspects that can give us big pullbacks. Obviously, we've seen the tug of war, the peace negotiation between Trump and Putin, and they do have an effect on the markets. What is this? Joseph Coupador saw me at Cracker Barrel yesterday. Oh, really?
You are banned!
That's right. That's right.
Unbelievable. Saw me at Cracker Barrel. You know what? I went there. Went there like a couple months ago. It wasn't that bad. My kids really want to go back there because their store. They have like so many little freaking trinkets. The kids just clean me out when they go into that store. Unbelievable. Drew, you got to look at Drift. All right, we'll go take a look at Drift. I'll get off the cultural soapbox. There's things that just, they grind my gears. All right, they grind my gears. Here, I'll go check out Drift though. Oh my God, where's Isaac when you need him? I gotta call him and tell him everything's gonna be okay. Holy God, Drift is up 20% today, folks. 62 cents coming in hot. And what we did is we were bullish on Solana ecosystem and Solana yesterday. Seems like that focus, it's almost like we know what we're doing, right? Solana woke up today. Now Drift getting 19% pump. Very, very aggressive. Absolutely awesome. Got to call Isaac. He's probably driving around a Lamborghini right now with his hair flying through the wind, just screaming death metal, right? Over his Drift bags pumping. Solana ecosystem plays are something that we do have to check in, though, with all the price action coming to Solana. Let's go check out, I know Jito is another one we got to pay attention to. It's up 10% today at about $2 on the month. Still kind of like a structurally the same as Drift, just at kind of a top end of a range it's been over the course of the last month. Over the years, still on the lower shelf, actually. And it looks like marinade. Honestly, it does. Drift was a little bit more aggressive for a short time. And obviously, Gedimus Maximus cheated. Gedimus. I got the Drift at 50. I sold it at it was like 220 or something like that. It doesn't even show it on here. It went to like 260 or something that night. Kicking myself for not just reloading the bag after that. Should have done. But yeah, I caught that wick. I dumped on that wick. Now we're at complete price resetting, and honestly, I'm pretty clear. This is caveman TA that I could have just redone. I'm all over the place. But shout out to Drift holders there. Seen a lot of mentions of Kita, and Kita had some interesting Visa lore going for it earlier. I've seen that kind of die off. And I've seen that kind of Visa lore die off in terms of narrative. Where is the price? I mean, it's coming up. Like it's pumped to defense moments right at around 70 cents. 70 cents, right? 80 cents right now. It's dropping below. We were hoping that it could find a bounce off that zone. Here, we actually got to go to Trading View. Trying to block me out. Let's go to the weekly. Let's see here. Yeah, big break from that bottom trend line, though. Look at that. Look at that. Big break. Big break from the bottom trend line here. Definite price reset. We're going to get, it kind of looks like we're going to get some cheaper Kita. It looks like we're going to get some cheaper, you know. Looks like a middle finger. Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah, just you, man. You. And it just falls down. I mean, but look at how drastic that initial pullback was. It was like a 75% pullback, and then it's been cooking on up. So really what I see is if we are still in a bull market, which I do believe we are, a pile of interest and volume in this pocket's actually probably going to be where that bounce point is, between 70 to 90 cents. So it's got some headwinds. This is the chaos of crypto. It's the chaos of crypto. We see good projects. That's the kind of the other thing about it. You'll see some of the exciting lore come out about a project, and it's and it's always interesting learning about it as it's happening, but buying into green candles has only wrecked me. If you're out there buying green candles and selling on massive sell-offs on huge red days, there is no saving this. I mean, the crypto is volatile. It is crazy. And I am also volatile and crazy. And I don't want to leave my money in a bank. I am trusting in Bitcoin in a trustless network that is peer-to-peer, that is decentralized across the planet to transact that value, and me allowing to hold that in my own cold storage custody. That is the ultimate freedom here. I'm in America, loving life. I hope you are loving life where you are at. You know what? And Warpaint, yes, let's look at Crow token as well. Crow token is, these exchange tokens, I kind of quantified it as canaries in the coal mine. I don't know if you heard that old expression, but they kind of go off. They're like little birds that let you know that chaos is coming. And Crow token, OKB, are essentially, in my opinion, those canaries in the coal mine, signaling a good return. Now, the partnership with the Trump family is going to help Kronos. It does have inverse tokenomics that it had previously before this major pump, where now they've released 70 billion tokens. Here they took out 70 billion tokens of circulation, which fueled a lot of this uprise. But in general, it is building higher lows. Probably going to be okay. Is it going to overtake Binance? No. Is it going to overtake Coinbase? No. But it will be a competitor. It will be a competitor. Link doing all right. You know what? As a Chainlink Maxi, you guys are going to have to really pull it out. If you want me to do Chainlink analysis, you're going to have to tell me, because I know what I hold in Chainlink. I don't feel like covering it all the time, but I got to keep cognizant. New people are coming in. People fade this chart, and it just makes me smile. Massive diamond nuts accumulation zone. Shout out to you if you're with me as the savages that bought this accumulation zone. I mean, honestly, the original buys are at $1.90. The COVID fear. I'm sitting sexual. I'm sitting pretty in Chainlink. And I'm going to hold this thing to the moon. On Chainlink, when to dump it. Again, go back to the formula. Go back to the formula linked to BTC. Go back to the formula. When to sell, right? I'm assuming Bitcoin's going to continue winning against Chainlink. I'm assuming that. Even though deep down in my heart of hearts, I want to see Chainlink rise, I'm assuming that Chainlink is still going to lose to Bitcoin in the long term. Now, where we're at right now, yes, slight impulse. Honestly, I'm looking for this zone. I'm looking for an intersection of this downward vibe line, trend line. I think we can perform to a degree. But yeah, man, I'm not even close to ready to sell these things. We've had a couple of weeks of impulse. We're probably going to have some chops, some stair steps built along the way up. And once I hit those levels, then it all goes into Bitcoin, real estate, vehicles, the goods, right? Morpho, how long we got? Oh, you know what? Next stream, we're going to go into Morpho. I'll do a deep dive into Morpho. And honestly, what are you doing? You guys are watching me on Discover Crypto, but you got to give some love to the Morpho deep dive that I did on the Blockchain Basement account. I'm telling you, you're missing out. Let's go here. Where is it at? So go to YouTube, go to Blockchain Basement, and this is what is this? Where you'll find the Morpho deep dive. You go to videos, and this is the move here to go listen to this deep dive on Morpho. Yes, I will cover the TA on Morpho tomorrow. Honestly, it's been vicious to the upside. We're sitting pretty. I've been having a lot of fun trading Morpho. And I might be giving a little bit of a call in the Discord here for what I'm looking out for. I got stopped out earlier this morning, but I'm actually looking at some levels. I think Morpho's about to get vicious on us. So love and appreciate every single one of you out there on the crypto interwebs. Madman Manuro, see, that's deep support right there, bro. That is deep support right there. And the show had to be a token. The token was a show, you know. Let's see here. D-Bank. How hard was it to debank? Are you running into difficulties with bill payments? I still have a bank account. You have to have a bank account to be able to pay. But honestly, like 99% of my net worth is in crypto. And also there is great power to JM Bullion, right? They accept crypto for gold directly. Side note there. Love to appreciate you guys. I'll see you on the next show. Peace.